Hey everybody, Roll Lines UK, Matt and Ash here, just awaiting Ant's arrival. Hope you've had a good weekend. Before I say hello to Ash, many thanks to mile marker 301 at the top of the show for the $10 super chat, 3 lions emojis, and a 2 and 1. Yes, sir, it was. Hey to Michael Lucci's as well, SW Line 26. And Bobo Lan, hello from Melbourne, Florida, hello to you. Oh, Davenport, says Michael. We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get there. Sucks for him. Ash, how you doing, mate?
Doing good. Nearly missed my tram home from the gym because they've suddenly lost power, so that was fun. Ordered an Uber to try and get back in time, and my phone died, so I start walking home. And so the tram comes, so I have to run across like a dual carriageway to get the tram to make sure I'm here on time. And Uber's cost me £5 because obviously the Uber came, but I couldn't see because my phone's dead. So thanks for that, Uber. But other than that, good. Obviously, still recovering from some of the adrenaline from yesterday of the back and forth second half, shall we say. But happy we got the dub, and obviously happy that FSU finally won as well. Though that's probably going to fall apart again this week against SMU. So fun.
What is it going to take for you to believe in FSU again, man? I hate seeing you this way. Although, I've got to admit, you're fairly pessimistic a lot.
Yeah, it's just it's kind. If I compare it to like 2020 Lions, where there's some things going right, but the major things are going wrong. So obviously entering the season, I know some people in the chat might have disagreed with the take before week 0 anyway, but we were told, oh yeah, FSU have an NFL caliber defensive line, they're going to get drafted, and yet we can't stop the run. Until this week against Memphis, we couldn't really rush the passer either. And then look at the other side, DJU, for as much as he was heralded coming in, Jesus Christ, it's such a bad QB. But even this week where he looks better, he throws that just red zone interception that shouldn't have done. So yeah, it's going to take a bit more data of us looking actually half decent for me to believe again. That's why for people who do our college pick watch, I've already picked SMU in it for this week because Ant is not a sadist. What is the other one?
Sadist.
You say is a sadist.
He is inflicting pain on you. Masochism is inflicting pain on yourself. It's the opposite.
Yeah. So I'm a masochist. Ant is a sadist. He keeps putting FSU into the pick watch.
We are very much getting early Clemson DJU rather than Oregon State DJU.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no doubt about that. It sucks. Although, I will say this is the first time I've picked against FSU. I picked them again last week, and I felt vindicated in it. So there we go.
Oh, okay. I picked Cal. I was just like, we can't stop the run there. Cal have got one of the best backfield duos in the country. God help us. But I guess having our OC back from a bullshit fucking suspension from the NCAA kind of helped a bit.
Brent says, Ash, all that and dealing with an FSU fan, my heart goes out to you, sir.
Yeah.
People are pitying you.
Some Villa fans, I keep having to suffer us conceding in the first 20 minutes and then spending the next 70 biting my fingernails hoping we can come back.
Thank you for that, by the way, this weekend.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Although I did just put it back onto bets later. I'm a degenerate gambler and I hate it, but there we go. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see whether Ant's coming on. I was pretty sure he was, but now he's not replying to me.
So yeah, especially since he promised me a 5-minute "I told you so" session with Davenport. I was waiting for that.
I'm waiting for it. I can't wait to hear it. Guys in the chat, come say hello and get a shout out. And if you've got any questions for us as the show goes on, then please do get them in at the channel. Make sure to actually at the name of our channel rather than just like a little reduction of it, because if it's the reduction then it doesn't actually highlight itself in orange. I can't see it. Put my name in it.
Or me, because I'm in both again today. I've got enough brain power.
I think so. If I
here we go.
Demonstrate by doing that, so it shows up in orange, it's really clear to me. So, get the questions in and we'll go through it, and I'm ready to go, apart from Mr. Fitzpatrick. Danny Mack in the chat saying, Victory Monday, but man, am I tired. How are we, fellas? I mean, Dan, you're going to be more tired this time next week. Well, actually, no, not this time next week. In 8 days' time. Because this time next week we'll be waiting. Brent says, any update on Brian Branch? None yet. Just that he's in the protocol. And that, well, I mean, it's not confirmed by anyone. It looks very clear to me that he was unconscious on the field. That doesn't mean anything for his prognosis, I don't think, really. It just means that the hit was bad. But I don't think it actually necessarily means that the recovery is going to be longer. I mean, to me, it just appears to be a luck thing, as Mr. Fitzpatrick is in the building. How you doing, man?
Wet. Very, very wet. It's been raining a lot here the last few days. I think certainly up north. I know Ash has been suffering like we all have, but I don't know if it's reached you down there in the posher Southlands, but it's been horrible here. But I say that, and then I sort of look on the news today and see a Category 4 hurricane heading to Florida, and I'm just like, well, actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. So yeah, but it's been horrible here. It's not stopped raining for 2 days. Thankfully, I live on top of a hill, and it just all sort of rolls down, and it doesn't. But it's still an inconvenience.
When you said you were wet, I thought it was just because you heard the Davenport news and got excited.
Why? You see, people are very mean to me on this. I don't...
Mean? You said you were wet like a rabid dog. Like, I'm wet.
No, I'm wet as in it's raining, you perv. Like, you know, this is a PG family-friendly show.
It is not.
Come on,
really not.
Like, oh, come on here and go, that hook and ladder made me moist, shall I say that? You know, let's just...
Yeah,
you know.
I mean...
it's...
No, in this case,
feel like just... we're in the sort of DX era here where we're like...
Yeah, well... With the exception that, you know, one of us isn't going around super kicking people like Shawn Michaels did that one day when he just went around, like, super kicking everybody he met. Like, I've not been doing that today, so... But no, I am literally just wet. I am wet because of the precipitation outside. That is the only reason with that.
Yeah, we are very much the Attitude Era of Lions podcast.
Well, you know.
Oh no. Ken says hi. Also glad we're on the win. I was surprised on both sides how many injuries in the game. Many came back, but many did not. I thought a natural grass stadium would be less injuries. Guess not. The stadium has a bad rap, and I don't really know why. But to be honest,
it's because it was the stadium for the Eagles Chiefs one, Super Bowl. Not this one, just got the one before, obviously. And there was wasn't that the one where Hurts like sprained his ankle really badly on the play and basically cost the Eagles the second half.
Fair. As I realise those guys were going off the rails. I mean, that's part of the vibe, hopefully.
Gone off the rails, not going, gone.
Today has been a long time. Danny Matt says, I know I'm dreading next Tuesday morning. I agree. I said, I think us UK fans need a bye week. I have a day off next Tuesday, so I'll be up at 7 o'clock in the morning, still buzzing from whatever has happened, I suspect.
I mean, we've got the bye week after, so really, that's fine. And you've got plenty of time to sleep that one off. If we lose 48-45 again, then maybe I'll think differently. But you know, here's hoping.
That would be so damn rough. Although I did just put it into the universe with Ash as well, and now we've both done it. It's funny for the people who believe in fate and that speaking things into existence happens, and you just feed them all of the negative things.
I mean, we just beat the Cardinals again, and we always beat the Cardinals, so that's maybe a bad omen. Like, who knows?
And we always beat the Rams. But we've been pretty good against Tampa recently, so...
We always get screwed by refs. No, that's a weekly thing. You can't change that.
It's a minute-to-minute thing. Yeah. All right. We ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the ROTL UK podcast, episode 292, Kirby's Dream Buffet. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
Doing good. Just glad we're inside from the rain, which I know has made some people very drowned, and glad that at least us here have managed to get through yesterday's game without too much pain, like some.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Nice to be back on the Victory Monday train again. It was been a long time since we'd not had that feeling, so glad that we're soon back to winning ways.
Is quite satisfying. We are going to be breaking down the Detroit at Cardinals victory today. We are just going to go through our normal bits and pieces now. So Discord channel, link in the live chat. If you've not tried it before, come and give it a try. If you don't like it, delete it, never come back. But I feel certain that you're going to enjoy the experience all the way through the week. The guys in there are fantastic. So link in the live chat, come give it a try. We'd love to see you there. College football podcast, Ant, this week. It's going to be very active once again with another brilliant week of college football.
Yeah. We're doing the reviews for week 4 and then taking a look ahead to week 5. All the conference stuff starts up this week. We're going to take a look through the poll rankings for the first time, all those good bits. So yeah, going to be a lot of fun. There was I think 4 100-plus scoring games this week. So a lot to go through.
Never mind the fact that in terms of hometown interest, the Michigan Wolverines pulled out a big result against the USC Trojans. And I mean, a lot of people fancied USC, including the bookies. So that's going to be an interesting one to break down. But also, Vandy taking Missouri all the way. There were lots of other, really close games by teams that really shouldn't have been pushed that close. I mean, Texas A&M against Bowling Green, for God's sake, was a one-score game.
I bet on Michigan, and I'm the Michigan hater. I'm the ultimate Michigan hater. I still bet on them. There's one thing, I put it very crudely in the chat, but there's one thing you can rely on Lincoln Riley to do, and that's mess up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big game. Every single time one of his teams plays a big game, he loses. I think he's like 2-8 against AP ranked opposition. So you're silly betting on USC doing that. But it was funny. They won a game when the quarterback passed for 32 yards. Like Orji and Cade McNamara won games of football and they threw for a combined 88 yards. That's disgusting.
But the thing is, when Cade McNamara was getting lambasted for being at Michigan and not being a particularly amazing passer of the ball, he was getting a lot more yards than that. So it's nuts, the situation they're in, Michigan. Yeah.
Should have gone to the portal.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, never mind. Better luck next year. Please don't forget to like the show, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do by now. And Lions Nation Unite as well. Herman Rawls projecting the best in Lions content creators together, and is a regular on many of the shows on that network. So please go and support him and them over there. With Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, tip jar down below. If you guys want to show some love that way, that'd be fantastic. But just listening is more than enough for us. As we get on now to the news, and well, the first bit of news is with the Lions' victory, they have continued their streak of having 9 consecutive wins following a loss, which goes all the way back to the 2022 calendar year. I think we mentioned it in the preview show, but the Lions just cannot seem to lose 2 in a row.
No, it's wonderful. Like, it's just this, you know damn well that they're just gonna, they have this mentality now, like, they have a setback and they immediately put it right, and then that's the right thing to do. Just shows what a good team they are. They work hard, redouble their efforts, and you see that you see the improvements they make after 1 week. So that's what good teams do. Every team in the NFL suffers a setback. We saw a lot of them this week, but the good ones bounce back really quickly, and that's us. So just goes to show the kind of mentality which is ingrained in this team now. It's like, we'll take your lumps, but as long as you hit straight back, you're going to be fine, and then that's what we do.
Yeah, we are certainly a resilient team. The only other news we have are to recap the injuries from this game, of which there were many. So let's just go through those now. Brian Branch is in concussion protocol. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it looks very clear that Branch lost consciousness on the field following a head-to-head hit, for which we'll talk about it, but I do think that it basically no blame is laid on him and all of it is laid on the opposition player, but who's going to get fined? I wonder who it's going to be. Ali McNeil was ruled out mid-game. Dan Campbell says he suspects that it's going to be a long-term injury which will not rule him out for the season. The same is true of Derek Barnes, who was ruled out at the early part of the second quarter. Tip Ryman, the rookie tight end, pulled from the left-hand side of the formation to block low on the right-hand side of the formation as the offense sees it. And it's one of those ones where when you have a pulling player, they've got to block low. There's nothing wrong with what Tip Ryman did. That's what you're trained to do. But it hits him in the knee. And again, Derek Barnes out for a significant period, but is not suspected to be threatening his season status. But it could just be that he's coming back for the last quarter of the season or something like that. Dan Skipper was injured, I think, on the second offensive snap of the game, but he managed to return later on. Levi Onwuzurike was injured on the first defensive series of the game, but managed to return and then play the entirety of the game. Terrion Arnold was injured after a pretty sickening hit with Kyler Murray diving at his knee. He seemed to be pretty shaken up on the sideline, but then obviously did come back into the game later. Sam Laporta was injured and struggled to return before then actually, just succumbing to his injuries there. That makes it sound like he's died. Confirmed now that he has a low ankle sprain. That's the better one of the two types of ankle sprain that you can get. Apparently, he could play on it if he really wanted to. So let's see what happens for next week. But when you hear he could play on it if he wanted to, not the best sign that maybe you just need a little bit of rest. And then some news that's broken in the last hour. Defensive end, and for all the people out there saying cheap on Twitter, check yourself. Expensive free agent signing Marcus Davenport has suffered, according to Rappaport, a major elbow injury. He was able to return to the game at the time with an elbow sleeve and play a few reps, but could be out for the season, according to reports, depending on the severity of the injury. If you have a look at the rep, which is part of the first reply to that tweet from Rappaport, it's a sickening play by the Arizona Cardinals left tackle. One of those ones that you're kind of taught in martial arts. If you want to break someone's arm, this is what you do. I don't know what you can really do about that, but, you wanted to break his arm and he bloody well got it, you prick. Sorry. Just very annoyed about that, considering, he's paid $10 million. I think, Marcus Davenport, or something in that realm, $6 to $10 million. He's not cheap. Maybe he's not primary edge rusher expensive, like $25 million a year or something, but it ain't nothing. And the Lions are going to find themselves short in that position now. Boys, it was a horrible day, Ash, for injuries on both sides of the ball. And while most returned, the ones that didn't, or the ones that could have long-term consequences, are some of the more impactful ones in there.
Yeah, 100%. Like, to sort of go off the last one and kind of banding together with Barnes, those are two pretty big injuries for us, just as the front five is really coming together. I know, obviously, Davenport missed last week with a groin injury. Now, him being out, I know, missing a game and basically missing, let's say, the last quarter of this game as well. In that 1 1/4 games, 3/4 games, we've seen him being one of the better edge rushers we've seen opposite Hutch since Hutch came here, and perhaps even before that. Actually looked like a viable edge, just obviously dude's made of glass. But hopefully Pascal can step up a bit back into that sort of starting role, even though based off what we saw this week, the only time I really spotted him was when he got the roughing the passer penalty, which isn't great. Maybe Levi and Wingo, I know they were also cited to maybe be able to bounce out to the big edge role. They can step up in the stead as well, but they might be better in the run game, but pass rushing wise, they're not going to be what Davenport offered us. So we're going to take a massive hit there. And then that's not helped by the fact that Barnes, who obviously being our Sam, would usually play off the outside shoulder of the big edge in pass rushing situations. He's out. We don't have a like-for-like replacement on the 53 at all. I know Neiman and JRM took reps for there after Barnes went out, but you're losing about 20 pounds of leverage at least, because Barnes about 250, JRM and Neiman are about 230, and you're losing the pass rushing chops. Yet again, I get to mention, obviously, Barnes used to be an edge rusher at Purdue, so he knew what he was doing there. Good enough cover player. We all saw that last year with the interception against the Bucks, and he's good against the run. Neiman can probably offer what he offers in the run game, JRM, the coverage, but pass rushing wise, unless we sign a Goody off to 53 and put Barnes on IR, I don't know what we're going to do there, to be honest, long term. And yeah, everyone else, luckily they returned to no Arnold. I know some members of the panel might have feared he tore his ACL with that knee hit when it happened because it did look pretty bad. But thank God he came back. And to be honest, didn't really look too hampered by it. Like, he played pretty damn well, as we'll come on to later. Levi coming back, great, because, yeah, that looks bad on the first event series, and you kind of worry because he's really bounced back from injuries, obviously, with the back thing that's kept him out for most of his rookie contract. Him coming back, looking okay, was good, and then Skip. With what happened with Laporta, you kind of needed him to bounce back, and he looks good, even when he was playing basically every rep on that last drive and was doing the exact same thing time and time again. He looks good. And then obviously Branch is going to be a big miss if we can't bounce back. But luckily, with the extra day off of us playing this time next week and then the bye, he should be okay. But if he has to miss the Seattle game, it's a bit worrying because if he's not going to be back, Brandon Joseph, as much as he's improved based off where he was this time last year, obviously being a UDFA, coming off a sort of rough season, he's no Brian Branch. And the same with Aleem. Like, this is a guy who's in a contract year, supposed to be hopefully going to really break out and earn himself a big payday, and him having a shoulder injury that could rule him out for a long time won't be the best for him, won't be the best for the team right now. Maybe the only silver lining of that is that maybe it brings down his price point a couple of $1 million, but I hate saying that because he deserves every single penny that we could give him, to be honest.
And it was a rough day on this facet of things.
Yeah, obviously happens in the NFL. A lot of players get injured, and I think the only thing really to say about it is a lot of players hurt low, so that obviously only means one thing. Kirby Joseph's a scumbag. Because every time somebody gets hit low, it's Kirby's fault. So, the Cardinals played dirty in this game. I don't like the way they played. Kyler targeted Terrian's knee. Davenport seems to have had his arm broken. Two players have been hit by dirty low hits, but no one mentions anything about that, do they? Because it's us and it's not, one of our players who they can sort of have a go at. But it's tough. They say we've lost players you don't want to lose because some of them certainly, as Ash has mentioned, play positions that we don't really have a lot of depth at, and it kind of causes problems for us going forward. And some of these guys are in contract years, it's bad for them. The defense has started so well, it's tough, but you've got to rely on the guys behind them to step up now and do their job. So this is an opportunity for somebody, to do this going forward, but it's rough. This early buy might end up being vital for us, maybe to get a lot of these guys rested up, see if we can get some of them back. With Sam, stupid decision to put him back in the game. Whoever did that should be fired because that could have really, really, really hurt him. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, the NFL is a tough business. We play a tough brand of football, so we are gonna suffer. And I think in recent years we've gotten away from the injury bug a little bit. We've done pretty well. So yeah, I just hope all the guys who have been hurt, they're able to get back to where they are, hopefully sooner rather than later. But for now, we'll just have to soldier on.
Soldier on indeed. Right, let's get to the game. Lions won it 20-13, scoring all of their 20 points in the first half. In terms of the box score, the Lions were led, of course, in passing by Jared Goff, 18 of 23 for 199, 2 touchdowns and a pick for a passer rating of 113.6. On the ground, led by David Montgomery, 23 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had 16 for 83 at 5.2 yards a carry. The Lions were led in receiving by Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 of 8 for 75 and a touchdown. Also in there was Jahmyr Gibbs, no receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown on the hook and ladder. On defense for the Lions, they were led by Brian Branch just before he went out with his concussion. 9 tackles total for him. The Lions had 1 sack by Aiden Hutchinson and 2 other TFLs by Branch and Carlton Davis. 5 pass breakups, 2 by Branch, 2 by Kirby, 1 by Terry and Arnold, and 4 quarterback hits. The 1 sack aforementioned by Aiden Hutchinson. He had another one to his name, and Levi Onwuzurike had another 2. It was an interception, that was by Kirby Joseph. Otherwise, Jake Bates was 2 of 3 on extra points, and the first 2 were wild slices, so lucky to get the first one, to be honest. Punting-wise, Jack Fox, 5 punts, 1 touchback, 4 were downed inside the 20. He was an absolute weapon in this game. And Kyler Murray, moving over to the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 21 of 34 for 207, a touchdown and a pick and a 76.5 passer rating. Also led the team on the ground, 5 of 45. James Conner was the lead running back, 9 carries for 17 yards at 1.9 yards per carry. Rough day on the ground for the Cardinals. In the receiving game, it wasn't much better. Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 of 11 for 64 and a touchdown. Michael Wilson, really the pick of the bunch. 8 of 9 for 64 for him. On defense, they were led by Kaiser White, the linebacker. He had 10 total tackles. They had 2 sacks, 1 by Matt Wilson Sr., 1 by Dante Stills, and 4 other TFLs, 1 by Jalen Thompson, 1 by Zaven Collins, 1 by Dennis Gardeck, and 1 by Billy Nichols. They had 1 pass defended. That was by Dennis Gardeck as well. And 2 quarterback hits. The sacks are both of those. There was 1 interception by the do-it-all man, Dennis Gardeck. What a day for him, personally. Prater was perfect, 2 field goals and an extra point. And then punting-wise, Gillikin had 5 punts for 260, an average of 52 yards per punt. He had a good day kicking the ball as well. And statistically, it was a perfect first half for the Lions. Goff, 12 of 12, if memory serves, and we were running the ball fantastically, but no points in the second. But defensively, it really stands out how little the Cardinals got going. Even late in both halves, where most of the yards came, they're still not lighting up the stat sheet.
No, I thought it was a very good game overall. I thought the first half was the most complete in sync we've seen offense and defense in, well, I might even say years. They both look really good. The offense really came out, put its marker down, and made up for the mistakes of last week, let's say. But the drives were long. They were formidable. I mean, Christ, there were only 2 completed drives in the first quarter, right? Like, this thing passed quick, but they moved the ball well. They mixed it up really well, which is the key component here. Last week, way too predictable. Came out in this one, we took a few shots, we ran the ball hard, we looked really good, and most importantly, we finished the drives off with maximum points, which is good. And yeah, like you say, the defense had a bit of a rough first drive, but adjusting to the Cardinals offense. Sometimes it takes a drive or 2 to sort of get in sync with them and where you're at. But after that first drive, they were tremendous. Both sides of the ball, like I say, were playing well. Special teams were playing well. Jack Fox was excellent when the offense did falter and we needed him to be good. And then if it weren't for a stupid play from JRM at the end of the first half, it would have almost been a complete one. Give him some cheap points, but apart from that, they were flawless. Second half, people are going to bitch a bit that the offense wasn't as good, but there's a common adage that's held out there that the defense wins championships, which is true. And every now and then, you need to give your defense a test of their championship mettle, because the offense has shown it can do it, but the defense has not shown it thus far. And to go an entire half the way they did, and to lock everything down, to consistently make plays, to dig out of some bad holes, and for all of them to perform really well, like the secondary for the first time. We said it'd take a while, but the secondary is starting to look gelled now. Terrian's starting to look really good, despite what certain disparaging reporters might say about him. Safety's still looking really good. And then your defensive line, whilst it didn't get all the sacks that it did the other week, again, another impressive performance against the run. It feels impossible at this point that anyone's going to run for like even 80, 90 yards on us, let alone 100 this year. They're just so stout. And for the most part, they were disciplined when it came to the lane rushing. Murray got a few early on, but outside of that, I don't think he really got anything for the second, third, or fourth quarter. So it was really good. And the defense showed that when it needed to be, it can be locked down. And so, I came away from this. I'm like, I'm very impressed. Like, even the offense, for the most part, in second half, they didn't just go 3 and out all the time. They drove time off the clock. They didn't put drives together, so at least they were able to give the defense enough time to rest so that they were able to come up slightly fresh. So, if you can't score points, at least keep your defense fresh to keep them from giving up points. So, yeah, there was a lot to like, and this was tough. There was a lot of pressure on this one. We just watched the Vikings win again. We just watched the Packers win again. We're coming off a loss. A loss in this one could have, things could have been really precarious and slippy for us, but we just put our authoritative boot on it from the beginning, and we never really let them back into it. So I'm very happy with the guys. Very happy with the performance. Obviously, still stuff to work on, but it's week 3. We had injuries plaguing us, which forced a load of changes around. But no, we did really well.
Ash, obviously we talked about it a lot yesterday on the live show, so let me throw you some different stats at you. The Lions went 6 of 12 on third down, the Cardinals went 1 of 9, and they also went 0 for 2 on fourth down, and the Lions led time of possession by 13.5 minutes. It was domination. The scoreline doesn't show it, but we utterly dominated the game.
Yeah, 100%. And that third down rate should be a bit better because obviously there was the missed one later in the game that obviously I know Dan came out and said afterwards he thought he was told it was quite clearly not converted, which is why he didn't challenge it. But yeah, just great situational kind of first football from our defense as well. So, for example, the fourth down where Davis clearly got Kyler down a yard before the sticks, and we actually won that challenge, which people who remember our show from way back and Ant's prophecy that the time we win a challenge will finally be the time that we win the Super Bowl. Well, the prophecy is going to come true, it seems, because finally, after just into his this season now, Dan hadn't won a challenge before yesterday. He finally won one. So whoever is that challenge guy up in the booth deserves a nice bonus because he finally got one right. But yeah, running the ball, moving the ball on offense, we managed to keep it, getting them off the field. And no, initially that first drive was come on to Kyler, made some plays, kept the ball moving. But from then on, we just locked down. And yeah, I know maybe that goes into Arizona's game plan of going from, let's run the ball to what Chris Buffett quite adequately put as the all-PI offense. Just chuck it deep. Someone's going to be down there, and if not, we'll draw a DPI kind of offense. We wisened up. And, yeah, it was a great, harmonious game from all three sides of the ball. I know people, including myself, are a bit upset that Bates obviously missed the extra point, but damn, did he look okay and everything else. Hatton had a great game. And Jack Fox continues to be the best field position optimization specialist in the league.
All right, let's go through the game. So the Cardinals won the toss and deferred. Detroit's first drive went for 7. Monty, with the very first play of the game, went for 11 yards through the middle. Had a 3rd down and 6 for a really nice throw to Sam Laporta on the outside for a first down. And on 2nd and 2, play action throw by Goff to Brock Wright. That was the second straight catch by him on the drive. Showed up really well, kind of in support of Sam Laporta and then taking over for him later. Later on, a 9-yard rush by Monty gave 2nd and 1. And then after that, a big, strong run down to the 1-yard line. Might have even got in, but we decided to run a play. And Monty for a 1-yard rush for the touchdown. PAT was good. Just inside that right after it being sliced to hell. Detroit leads 7-0. But Arizona clapped right back in their first drive. On 3rd and 2, a short completion to Wilson in the slot for a first down. Then Murray with a 13-yard rush, zone reading Aiden Hutchinson, and it worked, and they never went back to it. Nice dancing then on the subsequent play by Kyler Murray with a throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. on a scramble play for 16 yards. But then after a holding penalty on 1st and 20, Murray scrambles for 21 yards, diving forward to contact Arnold's ankles/knee area and is hurt and has to go off the field. Then the next play is a hands to the face penalty on Marcus Davenport. I know that Lions fans of, some longevity still shudder every time they hear that penalty, especially when it's completely fucking bogus. Again, not even anywhere close to his face. Here is not the face. When are they ever going to learn?
Who did that? Who did that last time for the Lions? I forget.
For God's sake. You really deserve a bouquet for that joke.
Need the Mike McDaniel gif.
No, that's mine and my proprietary right to use on Ash only.
I'll have to get my own one for you.
Get the photo I shot of Kyler when he's coming off the field when Kirby breaks up that fourth down. That look he pulls. That face is quite a good one. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I like it. Anyway, how's the first penalty on Davenport? And then Murray needing only 10 yards with a lovely kind of point guard pitch and catch to Marvin Harrison Jr. in the corner of the end zone for a passing touchdown. P80 is good, and it's 7 apiece. Detroit's second drive, we respond straight away. 3rd and 1, Gibbs runs power for 3 yards to convert on 2nd down and 8. Quick throw to the outside to Amon-Ra Brown for 10. A Laporta false start actually saves us from a maybe drive-ending sack. So on 1st and 15 instead, we have a really weird play with an outside handoff to Gibbs for no gain. Never looked like it was going to work. That was the first play that made me think, don't do what we did last week. Come on. But on 2nd down and 15, Amon-Ra Brown ran a 15-yard hook and had a couple of run after the catch yards for 18 to get a first down. It was the end of the first quarter. And on 3rd and 3, it was a huge hole in the handoff to Gibbs for 15 yards down to the 9. And then on 3rd and goal from the 5, Amon-Ra Brown running a pivot for the touchdown. PAT was no good. Again, sliced wide right. This time, 13-7 lead. Cardinals then go 3 and out. Kyler scrambled out of bounds for 3 yards on 3rd and 4. A great catch by Michael Wilson, who bobbled it, but a great tackle to force him being short by a yard, and they were forced to punt. But Detroit go 3 and out themselves. On 3rd and 3, Goff trying to escape pressure by Matt Wilson, and Decker didn't expect Matt Wilson to actually come, so just completely whiffed on it. We end up punting into the end zone, but we do get a flag for a blocking out of bounds penalty. That's unnecessarily rough, and it means they started at the 10. And on Arizona's 3rd drive, holding on Higgins on Brian Branch means they actually go back to their own 5 after kicking into the end zone. 2nd down and 12, and a throw by Wilson to DPI for Terry and Arnold. Looks very, very harsh. Potentially could have been OPI on Wilson, I believe it was. If you have a look at the play, Arnold turns to face the ball, jumps to contest, and Wilson jumps into him. In practice, I don't think anyone's ever giving OPI there because they just never do. But the offensive player clearly interferes with Arnold's ability to contest the ball and not the other way around, but never mind. That gives them obviously a new set of first down. Oh, a new set of first downs? A new set of downs. 3rd down and 2. Murray throws out the sack with Levi getting the quarterback hit. It would have been a sack if he didn't get rid of it. Just got out of the tackle box, otherwise it would have been grounding. They ended up punting from there. Detroit's final drive of the half. A play action throw to Sam Laporta for 24 yards was beautiful. Leads you to think that the Lions should probably do more play action rather than less, given how much I like to run the ball. On 3rd and 12, a Goff pick 6 was saved by whistles for the 2-minute warning. The play did appear to be snapped in time compared to the TV clock, although we don't know about the stadium clock. But there are very clearly whistles prior to the snap, and there are very clearly players from the Lions who give up on the play entirely. And Goff is one of those players, but he gets a bit flustered by about 4 Arizona Cardinals bearing down on him, so I think he just panics because he doesn't want to get hit. To me, it's very clear in Goff's face that he's heard the whistles because he kind of looks confused about the fact that the play's been blown dead. So I don't know what people want to see here, but just look at Goff's face before he throws the ball. It's not anything at this point. Anyway, the Lions get saved. And then on 3rd and 12, a running back draw out of shotgun to Gibbs for 14 yards and a first down. First down and 10 from the 21. A throw to Amon-Ra Brown, who instantly pitches it to Gibbs for the touchdown. Brilliant play. Completely unexpected, but executed to perfection. PAT was good this time in a 20-7 lead. On the play, Sam Laporta had his standing legs taken out. You can see it on the back end of the TV replay. It looks sickening. And then on the final drive with 29 seconds to go, even if DAZN do put the highlights out of order, you twits. 29 seconds to go, and a throw over the middle, and JRM hits a defenseless man on the floor about 2 seconds after the play is over. Stupid play. Puts them almost instantly in field goal range. But it could have been worse, because Kyler Murray went for it all to Marvin Harrison Jr., who could have caught the ball at about 2-yard line. But Terrion Arnold competes fantastically well. One, to avoid DPI, because we've seen it enough. He manages to get his head around and he competes at the catch point, which is pretty low, to be honest, actually, in that time. It's not very high, that ball. I would say that in like 40% of cases there, that play comes off for the Cardinals. You get DPI at the 1, or maybe even Marvin Harrison just comes... Oh, God, I went a bit Somerset there. Marvin Harrison comes down with the ball for a touchdown. Regardless, they end up running one final play before having a field goal good from 42 yards and a 20-10 Detroit lead. And we've both had our say, myself and Ash, on this game already. So I want to come to you first of all. The Lions have 5 drives and they score 5 drives? 4 drives. And they score 3 touchdowns. A missed extra point could have come back to bite us, maybe. There's the hook and ladder play to talk about. There's the INT that wasn't. Otherwise, Fox is a great punter. And, I mean, we're just an inventive team that's going to be hard to read.
Yeah, they were very good, and like I say, they just completely started changing everything up. They weren't running the ball well, but they were hitting a few deep shots. You were getting outside the tackles. You were getting into space. You just played really well, and say only one one drive ends because of a miscommunication on the O-line. That's fine, but apart from that, they were just really good. They were ruthless, and they took time off the clock. They get the Cards defense on the field. They gassed it out. You saw them sort of methodically just turn the screw on them, and it was really fun, especially after week 2 was a bit of a slog in that regard. But yeah, they perform real well. First Cardinals drive, not too fussed about again. First time you've seen an offense, there's this dynamic, it's rolling. It put up nearly 50 last week. It's really good. We had to adjust to it. That's absolutely fine. Don't mind too much in there. And it seemed to pass so quickly, this half did. Like, first was gone in the blink of an eye, but the second, didn't feel like it went much longer on that either. But yeah, it was just really impressive stuff. Everyone got involved. They used Gibbs, they used Laporta, they used Amon-Ra, they used J-Mo, unfortunately. But no, you keep scoring, you keep the scoreboard moving, you bring pressure on the opposition because they start to make a few mistakes as well. You get a few drives of theirs where you turn them away, you're able to make them punt, and it puts pressure on a team, and you could tell they really looked under pressure, and it didn't help that the crowd seemed to be very pro-Lions this day. The reffing calls were stupid. Arnold, that was never DPI in a million years. The receiver literally jumps into him, and it's like, if that's what that's coming to, if you're a wide receivers coach, you just tell your guys just run into the DB, and you'll get a penalty for it. And it's ridiculous because Terrion didn't deserve that, and now all his haters are going, oh well, look how many flags he's had against him. DPI, and like, no, not justified at all. And we saw some other calls in games later in the day which were far worse and didn't get called. The inconsistency around the league is staggering, and it's really frustrating. Because again, these guys, it really didn't hurt us in the end. We were able to get them out of there. So yeah, it was a good first half. Like I say, just complete all really around the bounds. Stupid mistake at the end. Cost us a few points, but again, it didn't really cost us in the grand scheme of things. But still, you don't want to see that happening. But yeah, I don't really have much bad to say about that. I thought they were great on both sides of the ball, and exactly the response that we needed. Going in, coming in from week 2. So yeah, I was just really happy when all was said and done.
Ash, how are you feeling now that you've slept on the game? I mean, it was a great first half.
Useful, I didn't have myself muted. It really was like, I bet everyone who was watching remembers my reaction to that hook and ladder play. Like, Jesus. I know it was very, very reminiscent to the one we ran against the Packers a couple of years ago, but just a damn good play call, especially to get us out of that funk after the blown dead pick six, which, yes, the internet is still debating, even though quite clearly now there's people who've even screenshotted their own broadcast thing and shown that the ball wasn't snapped even at 2 minutes on the broadcast play clock. So, but of course, the haters going to hate on us. They're always going to say we were sort of helped, even though we did it ourselves. But you're just pretty much perfect sort of half from everyone except for obviously Bates, Slice, and the PAT. Everyone has played well. We gave up a couple of big plays, but you go into, especially against Kylo on their first drive. After that, don't know why they abandoned the read option, because they did it perfectly on that first drive. But just a really good first half, wasn't it? And then obviously the third quarter's coming up, but going into the half, everyone should have been optimistic, and at least I was.
Yeah, it felt really good going into the half. It felt like Goff wasn't going to miss a throw. It felt like we were really pressuring them. Even though they got 10 points, we gave away the 3, like Ant said earlier on, that, if JRM doesn't make that play, we're not risking a touchdown. Like, we almost gave away. How sickening that would have been to go in 20-14. But the plays that Wilson was having, the plays that Murray was having to make, like in his own end zone, scrambling around back there, having to avoid getting sacked for a safety, having to avoid grounding penalties, which he was close to a couple of times. They looked like they were in trouble, the Arizona Cardinals, at halftime, to be honest, because it didn't look like it was going to get any better. However, they did get the ball to start the second half for their 5th drive of the game, which ended pretty early. 3rd and 6, Carlton Davis, DPR Marvin Harrison Jr. That also looked harsh. 6 of one, half a dozen of another, although Carlton Davis...
It was a flop. Call it what it was. It was a flop, and it was a 10 out of 10 flop.
The issue that
Marvin Harrison's been taught well by his dad, and who can blame him?
The issue that Carlton Davis is going to have is because Marvin Harrison's on the outside and Carlton Davis is on the inside, when Carlton wraps his hands around Marvin Harrison, that's clearly visible to the official on the outside. Whereas when Marvin Harrison does it, no one's watching where his hands are because it's naturally kind of blocked by both of their bodies. So, if anything, it's just smart from Marvin Harrison, but it's a harsh call on Carlton Davis, who had a really good day. Further on down the drive, nearing the the red zone, 2nd and 3, and Murray leans back on his back foot to hoist a ball which went into orbit before coming down with snow on it for Kirby to snag it out of the air in the end zone for his 2nd end zone interception of the season in 3 games. And so Detroit take over at their own 20. 3rd and 1, false start by Graham Glasgow means it's 3rd and 6, and Goff now is the one throwing it inaccurately off the back foot. I think it's the only time in the game I saw Goff do this, but it was reminiscent of last week when he looked awful. But glad we didn't see that again after this one. So the Lions end up punting, and they punt it, and it's down at the 2. Arizona Cardinals then come out from their own 2. 2nd and 9, blitz, and Murray with a panic throw out the end zone just over the head of a receiver and just close enough to him to not get called for a safety for grounding. 3rd and 9, and he scrambles trying to get to the first down but gets hit by Kirby a yard short. Punt is nicely returned all the way to the Detroit 43 to take over. Detroit's 6th drive, they try and run a double reverse to Jamison Williams. It doesn't work and they lose 7. And then on 2nd and 17, Goff with a quick throw to Brock Wright coming over from the left-hand side of the formation in the slot to the right. He completely missed Gardeck, dropping from outside linebacker into coverage and just throws it straight into his arms. So Arizona take over in plus territory for them. And 3rd and 2, a great save by Aiden Hutchinson, DiMarcado, that's how his name is, it DiMarcado? Thank you. He's running forward through the middle of the formation. Looks like he's going to get the first down on 3rd and 2, but Hutch hauls him back just with his hand strength. Really impressive to stop him for a gain of 1. That makes it 4th down and 1. And they've got to go for it here, really. So about midfield-ish, 45-yard line or so of Detroit. And they go jumbo formation. Murray fakes the run, or handing it off, and then tries to sprint to the outside. And despite how quick Murray is, the outside force player is Carlton Davis, who recognises it early and makes a fantastic tackle to get him short. It's actually given initially as a first down, but as mentioned, Detroit do challenge it, and he is short by at least a yard. So terrible call on the field, overturned. Which means Detroit take over for the 7th drive. Gibbs with a B-gap run for 18 yards. A play-action pass out of I formation to Amon-Ra for 15. 2nd and 2, a throw to J-Mo on the outside on the far side, but he couldn't get his feet in. There was no one near him. It did not need to be that far out. To be honest, it should have been a bit of a pitch and catch situation, but never mind. And then Lions go quickly on 4th and 1, and they do not get there to turn it over on downs, reminiscent of several times where they've tried to go quickly on short yardage situations and they consistently fail, and please stop doing it. Cardinals on their 8th drive, Branch with a great PBU on Dortch, Connor TFL by Carlton Davis on 3rd and 13, Murray under pressure by Levi and Hutch, he hauls it deep. Brian Branch has got his hands on the ball for the interception, but Kirby makes the PBU instead, which is not ideal, but never mind. They end up punting the ball away, so Lions take over again. They do another fake reverse. Goff's going to throw the screen the other way, but he holds it back in after it's busted. Monty actually then who was going to receive the screen, comes up forward instead. Goff kind of tries to throw it away at his feet, but Monty managed to pick it up off his own feet and actually gets about 7 yards out of the play. Completely busted play, salvaged by David Montgomery there. Goff then sacked on 2nd and 10 by Dante Stills after Gibbs tripped on his route and he was the primary receiver on the play. I think that was a 5-wide situation, potentially. 3rd and 17 after that sack, a short completion to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Flag for OPI by Amon-Ra, declined, and we end up punting. Arizona's 9th drive, nice throw to Marvin Harrison for 17. Davis with a nice PBU then on Marvin Harrison Jr., but Pascal gets pinged for roughing the passer. Brian Branch then with a great tackle on Michael Wilson for a short gain, but then a false start by the Cardinals to set him back. Rodrigo then had a great tackle on a screen pass by the Cardinals. 3rd and 7, quick throw with a nice competition by Arnold on Marvin Harrison, forcing a break up. Then 4th and 7, Kirby with a great PBU on Trey McBride over the middle. Would have been a first down, but forces the incompletion to turn it over on downs. Getting towards the end of the game now, getting desperate. Detroit on their 9th drive. Goff, the team go run, and then go for it all. And to be honest, J-Mo's got the run on his guys, but Goff tried to lead him the wrong way. He threw it over his shoulder to the right-hand side. If he actually throws it more towards the post, it's going for 6, as it is slightly off target, and we end up punting, but it's down at the 9, meaning the Cardinals have to go more than 90 yards again. Arizona's 10th drive ends with a 3rd and 10 with Hutch's pressure forcing Murray to throw off his back foot, and his accuracy is kind of shot at this point, so they end up punting again. Detroit's 10th drive, Monty runs it for 8, and then after the end of that 8, he's picked up by the Cardinals, and the Lions players get behind him and they carry him for another 6 yards. Fantastically funny rugby-style play. 3rd and 2, inside handoff to Gibbs. Great tackle by Buda Baker to keep it to 1, so we have to punt. But again, we punt it and it's down at the Arizona 6-yard line, so 94 yards for them to go, down by 10. And this ends up being the Cardinals' final drive. Dortch with great feet to stay up on contact balance and get the first down early in the drive. And then the sickening clash of heads between Brian Branch and Trey McBride. So Branch leads with a shoulder, keeps his head away from the play, and Trey McBride leads with the crown of the helmet to contact Branch, who's leaning away from the play. It's a sickening clash of heads, and McBride has to be coached to be safe playing the game. I do not think you should be allowed to play the game if you put your fellow players in danger there. I do not think McBride's a dirty player, but you cannot do that in this game, especially when you are the person with the momentum in the play. Branch is bracing for impact. McBride is initiating the contact. It's terrible play. Wilson then with a great catch versus Davis on the sideline for 28 yards. Murray sacked then by Hutchinson for the first one of the day for the Lions. Lovely spin move for a 7-yard loss. 2nd down and 17. So Marvin Harrison Jr., but Terry and Arnold again having a great second half, great competition forcing the incompletion. Throw to Dortch for 13 on 3rd and 17, and they settle for a field goal to make it a 1-possession game from 45 yards. And the Lions have 3:48 to go with only 1 timeout for Arizona, meaning about 3 first downs is going to do this. Monty gets stopped with only 1 yard gains, but gets another shove from behind to actually gain 4. But then Saul gets a false start, and then Monty has the TFL by 1 yard by Collins, saving Collins, basically the only thing he did all day. Forces 3rd and 12, throw to Amon St. Brown, absolutely rifled by Goff. He had to wind it up a little bit, but he got 16 yards out of it in a first down, and then 2nd down and 8 subsequently. Play action, well, not play action, a naked bootleg by Jared Goff to scramble for 9 yards on 2nd and 8 was the ball game. And coming back to you again first, a lot more drives in this half of the game. And I mean, if you have a look at the play-by-play of how both teams did, it went interception, punt, punt, interception, downs, punt, downs, punt, field goal, end of game. Not a lot of points, a lot of defense, but compelling ball. The game was never over. Both sides competed hard. I mean, the way Arizona played run defense in the second half is to be lauded, but the Lions absolutely brought it. And I think Kyler put the ball where it needed to be quite a lot, but, you know, Marvin Harrison, Wilson couldn't come down with the balls, where Davis and Arnold and Kirby, to their credit, were absolutely fantastic on the back end.
The first half was like watching Georgia. The second half was like watching Iowa. I think that's the best way to describe this game. Like it is becoming a concern, sort of how much they are struggling when they have a break. Like before the break, you're rolling every single drive, you're scoring, and then it's just a short 15-minute break, and you come out and it all disintegrates. But this was just very much the proverbial, it's just taking little lumps out of one another. But we kind of like the big kid who's holding the little kid at arm's length, and the little kid's trying to swing his arms at us, and he can't really hit us.
Are you calling us Nelson from The Simpsons?
Yeah, and they're Millhouse. That is not a small Kyler Murray joke, by the way. That is just coincidental. I love Kyler. But yeah, it just felt you were kind of holding them at arm's length. But as I say, we were just taking enough time on the clock. We were getting good enough field position to keep them at arm's length and to stop them really attacking us. And, while it was a shame we weren't able to get more going offensively, like I say, it's silly things. It's penalties. Glasgow, he's having a rough start to the year. Just then some questionable play calling. We seem to go back to trying to run it between the tackles, and they were just loading the box up, and we were struggling. We were putting ourselves in those silly 3rd down situations again. Goff, well, I mean, the pick was terrible, but he had a near flawless game. I'm not going to get after him for that. It was a bad throw, but it happens in the NFL. Every quarterback throws a bad one every now and then. But yeah, it was just, I don't want to say it was boring, but there was a lot where, I say a lot of plays happened, but not a lot happened, if you get what I mean. There was just, as I say, it was just very gritty, very, every yard felt really tough to be able to go out there and get. But on the backside of it, you really have to credit the defense here for them being able to come out and to be able, like, you get the interception to start the half, which is great. That immediately wipes out their advantage, getting the ball first after the half. You get Kirby making his tackles, just holding them to those 4th downs, forcing them punt away. Everyone got involved. Malcolm got involved. The run game, James Conner got nothing. He got absolutely nothing in this game, and Kyler got nothing on the ground in the second half either. And the secondary guys held up really well. Like, this second half was like a banner half for Terry and Arnold, especially. Like, it was where it started coming together for him, and you just, like, the dude improves on the field. I know it sounds very stupid, but you can see him evolving on the field as he plays, like in a minute-by-minute basis. A lot of players, you don't. He picks things up so quickly, and his coverage on Marvin Harrison was so good, didn't give him anything. Like, Marvin Harrison was resorting to flops. He flopped at the start of that half, but, whatever. And it was, we kept him right down to the end of the game until we gave up anything away against them. And, Kyler made some really good plays. He's a great quarterback. The Cardinals did very well sticking by him. They've given him weapons to throw at. They've got a lot of good tight ends. Marvin Harrison's great there. They were able to get us, but we always look very confident in getting this one out. Goff obviously loves coming up with these little plays at the end of games to ice them off, but yeah, I'd say I was more happy because for me, I've seen the defense take a real test here, and they really passed it. Now it's the offense's turn. We've got to see 60 minutes of good football from them, which we've not for a long time. But yeah, just a gritty knockdown off. This is what our football is. We got dragged down into a trench, but we like playing down in a trench, and say we kept them at arm's bay, never really let them threaten us too much. In most part, I never felt in danger, really, which is, weird because usually with us and our defense, you do feel in danger. But no, you've just got to give hats off to them all. They just fought out a really gritty win. This is like the ugly 1-0 win over here in football. It ain't pretty. You've got a lot to work on, but it's 1-0 and you've got 3 points. And for us, the win is the most important thing. So yeah, it was boring, but I'm gonna take that when I'm 10 points up. So
Ash, it felt like the real turning point in the game for the Lions was the reaction after the interception, forcing the Cardinals to turn it back over on downs. And yeah, the Lions then turned it over on downs themselves, but only after progressing it 42 yards down the field. It feels like if they converted on that fourth down as it was initially given, that, any sort of points there for the Cardinals really puts the cat amongst the pigeons, whereas, it was until the final 4 minutes of the game where they came within one score.
Yeah, it really was. Like, it's great. It was initially great challenge by Dan and the guys up in the booth to do it. But obviously the situation we're in there where it's Goff throwing the interception, like, I know jokes about it a couple of times, but that guy, I think Goff just needs to sit down and this week just learn how to spot up to linebacker dropping back into coverage into a hook zone, because obviously it happened yesterday. The first game against the Bears last season, where he threw like 3 picks to different linebackers. There's just something about that where a team either fakes a blitz with a linebacker or sends him and then drops him back in a hook zone. Just gets Goff for some reason. It's something he has to work on. But yeah, then the challenge and the ability to stop them on the fourth down, admittedly, changing the game plan a tiny bit to try and get the ball out of Goff's hands because of that interception. It was a turning point in a way, but as Dan says, we gritted it out. Yeah, we made a mistake, but then we bounced back, and then we were just able to grind out the clock, make sure that Arizona always under pressure, quite literally sometimes with obviously the pass rush and that, but just the emphasis was always on them. And yeah, if they got that fourth down, if you just managed to get it, yeah, they might have gone down and scored and really would have put us in a bit bad position, because then you've got Goff in a bad mindset, having just thrown a pretty easy interception, us kind of going away from the run a tiny bit, especially with the double reverse that kind of lost 7, but also could have sprung loose if Arizona just didn't crash down as quickly as they did. Like, Ben was already having to dig down to his bag of tricks then, kind of to get some momentum. Maybe we would have completely lost it, and it would have been a game where, again, like they show the graphic at halftime, we've led by 20 before, like 27 going into half before. Then the first time it might have been another situation where a run of bad luck just spirals and we lose it. But this time, like I said, week 1 with the Rams, we've learned. We were in a situation with the NFC Championship game. We've learned, we've shown that, yeah, it is a bit of bad luck. We're able to dig ourselves out of it now, unlike we were then. We've got the talent, we've got the players to do it. And it was good to see, yeah. I heard Matt can attest, I was worrying about the third quarter again. Oh, look at it. But we didn't need it this week. We could go scoreless in the second half and still grit out a win. Maybe we can't do that next week against Seattle. But the fact that we've shown we can do it, though, is going to bear fruits later in the season where, let's say, I don't know, Indianapolis with the Colts, if we can force a couple of turnovers on Richardson and then just grind out the clock against them, it's going to be a good win for us in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Many thanks to Jeff Hurley for the $10 super sticker. Many thanks, my guy. Much appreciated. Game themes, and one I really am interested to get your thoughts on, because you said about it being kind of borderline boring in the second half, and yeah, it couldn't be more different in the first half. It's a tale of two halves for the Detroit offense. What happened, do you think? Why did we suddenly go from moving the ball easily and scoring points, not at will, but 3 out of 4 drives coming away with touchdowns in the first half, to getting nearly bugger all every drive? I mean, I know that people were talking about in other shows about the fact that there was only 1 3 and out, but I mean, I think that does ignore the fact that one was ended by an interception and one of them was a 4-play drive, which is not a huge amount better than a 3-play drive. What happened to the Lions?
I think some bad decisions maybe were made. I mean, you look at how the drives were ended. Like Glasgow's false start kind of buggers us up on the first one. Then you're behind the sticks because you've got the double reverse to JMO, which they instantly kind of blew up. And the thing is, that's getting a little old now. We've done that quite a few times. So I think you need to try and find a different variant of that maybe. Then, you just, it's, I don't know. It just, I mean, at this point, it's been years. We talk about the team having one half on, one half off. We've talked about that offense, defense, and combined. We very rarely get a full 60 minutes from either unit. I mean, I know it's tough to do it for full, but even generally, like this was like we played 100%, then we played 20%. There needs to be a happy medium where we like play 80 and 70 or something like that. We've never done that. I just don't know what it is with us. I think it's maybe, and it sounds silly with us, but a lack of diversity with the offense. Again, you sort of especially at the end of this game or in the fourth quarter, I noticed there were just a lot of runs up the middle that they kind of figured out. And I swear it was you who was talking about it earlier in Discord, how they were loading the box up and they were just ready for it. And it was just becoming too predictable again. It's like what we did against Tampa, like, because we'd had a lot of success in the first half running the ball. We're like, right, that's what we're going to do. I think maybe Goff throwing the pick is like, right, we want to try and keep the ball on the ground. We don't want to put it in danger in the air, which is fine. But at the same point, we had a lot of big plays in the first half, and those big plays lightened the box and allowed us to run the ball. We talked about it in the preview about how we were going to make this better. Gotta get teams interested in your deeper games so that you've got a chance to be able to run the ball better. And it just felt like we tightened up on offense, which means their defense loaded up on us, which then made our offense not do anything. Like, you've got to stretch the field with us, not shrink it. And I think that's what happened. The field shrunk, and we weren't able to find ways to get out of it. And we're just getting a little too predictable with some of the fancy plays as well. And again, penalties didn't help. I think there were at least 2 drives that got banjacks by penalties. So you've just got to be more disciplined, especially because it felt like we got pinged for false starts a lot. Crowd wasn't an issue here. Like, you're not in the Superdome. You're not in Arrowhead getting absolutely drowned out by a partisan crowd. This was a pro-Lions crowd. It was noticeably louder on their drive. So, it's just the little things. Like, the little things are hurting us at the minute. We've just got to get a bit more disciplined. We've just got to be a bit more technically refined, and maybe it'll work there. But yeah, certainly we just played a bit into their hands in the second half, and I think we tried to play it safe, which you shouldn't do. But the defense was doing such a good job, I think they just decided they didn't want to take risks. And that's what it came down to.
You concur, Ash? What's your theories on this? Because, it kind of felt like we went from Rams offense game to Tampa offensive game in a blink of halftime.
Yeah, so I think part of the issue is that Ben Johnson at halftime adjusts to what he thinks the other team's going to do rather than what they actually kind of do. Like, you've seen it time and time again. So we keep saying the third quarter, I know it picked up halfway through last season. It got a bit better, but instead of still coming out with what was working in the first half, seeing what the Cards do to adjust and then adjust to that, he's like, well, if I was me, this is what I would do to adjust to what we're doing in the first half. So this is what I need to do to counter the adjustments that they're making. And then it doesn't work. It's just part of the issue. That might just be me thinking is obviously the clear mind in the ivory tower kind of thing, too clever for the likes of us. But it's definitely part of the issue. Again, going away from the run game last week seemingly failed. This week, kind of doing the same. I know, yes, sometimes you do have to throw in the fancy plays just to maybe keep them honest and see what they're doing, but it doesn't help. And then, yeah, the penalties on the offensive line, so I've just pulled up part of Detroit's report card for this week because I know we had it listed out. So in that second half, we had a Glasgow false start that turned a 3rd and 1 to a 3rd and 6. Penay's false start that turned a 2nd and 6 into a 2nd and 11. Decker false start that turned a 3rd and 7 to a 3rd and 12. There's 3 big penalties that kind of get you behind the sticks. And then when you have the fancy plays that aren't working, when you have got throwing both uncharacteristic but characteristic interception at the same time, it does add up. And it just means that, yeah, the offense stalls a bit until you kind of go back to what worked. And even then, as again, Matt can attest to that final drive where I was like, oh God, here we go again. We've got Decker and Bright going motioning from left to right across the line. Here comes another inside zone. And yeah, they got me with the last one. It turns out it was a naked bootleg off it, and it was an adjustment. But the fact that you could almost tell what we're doing, as soon as you see Skippers on the field, you're like, okay, here comes another inside power run. And yeah, the Cardinals were just able to sort of key on that and flood the middle of the box. And we didn't do much to play off that other than, again, the Goff naked bootleg and the JMO double reverse. We didn't do too much. It's hard to say, as you can see by the fact I'm stuttering, like, yeah, we're sticking with what's working, but at the same time, we're being too predictable with it. So then when the Cardinals adjusted to what was working, we then didn't adjust enough in terms of showing the looks. Like, one of the things I've seen this week from one of the things I follow is how teams are using for 11 personnel in 12 personnel looks to make defenses guess. So we've got Amon-Ra, who I know I've said time and time again with my spiels about the ex-receiver, isn't big enough to do it consistently, but he's got the blocking chops that sometimes you can use him as a sort of slot blocker, use him close to line like a tight end, and then, yeah, one play have him blocking, and then the next one have him run a slant or an out of something. Yeah, it's something that maybe in the bye we can hope that Ben, Dan, Brunel, Goff, everyone can kind of sit down in offense and sort of see what's going on with these third quarters coming out the half and then the second halves, and seeing what we can do to adjust if it is throwing a few more formations in, maybe playing off those sort of tendencies, like I was saying with Skip coming in as a 6th offensive lineman, using stuff like that while also not going completely the other way and running double reverses that are probably going to lose you a lot of yards. You've got 10% chance of getting a touchdown off it, but then 70% chance of a tackle for loss. Like, it's about finding that balance again.
And as much as I slag them off all the time, it's interesting that, you look at this game and PFF, the 3 worst run blockers on our team in this game are the 6th man, the fullback, and the tight end. So as we mentioned with the jumbo packages, something isn't going right when the jumbo packages are coming out, when the bigger packages are coming out, when we've just got the first 5 on there, and we've got all our other weapons out, and we're showing threat of something else. We seem to be doing better. When all these men are coming in for the big packages, they're the ones not doing very well. So maybe we've just not got good enough personnel to run some of these bigger packages with the ball, and that's costing us. So, but again, I slag them off that much. I'm kind of basing that on a hypothesis which I wouldn't trust. So, but they've seen something clearly.
I think the thing about when you bring in your heavy package is it means that the opposition responds in kind and also bring a heavy defensive set on there, and it gets really congested. One of the things I think we've struggled at is creating the holes in congested formations. So when you spread things out, our offensive line, which is fantastic, can get to work, and maybe you have a tight end who starts on one side of the formation, comes over to the other side, and then that kind of opens things up. Or quite often we saw a tight end in at fullback and then flexing out into the normal inline position, and I think that kind of helped reveal things, because normally you see that sort of player lined up as a passing player in a formation and flex out, whereas when they're in the backfield, I think it creates another wrinkles of what's going on. So I don't think it's as simple as we're worse at blocking when there's the extra men on the field, but I do think there's something about how the defense respond to it that we're not great at.
See, I remember a time when we used to leak a man out a lot on those and pass it. Like, we used to do that fairly often. So, when you do that, you elicit the fear of a pass into the play and they're not quite as aggressive against it. Whereas we seem to have completely gone away from that concept now, which I'm not sure why. Maybe you want to throw that in there once or twice because then, like you say, it's creating uncertainty in a defense. Like you see, is there a guy and they're like, oh, actually, do I need to, do I need to proper block him? Do I need to chip him? Whatever, because he's going to leak out the back and we're going to get a pass on them. So, maybe you just need to get a little bit more creative and throw in a few more looks on these as well, just to, open things up. Because I think, as you mentioned, congestion is the problem, and it's up to us to decongest the middle of that field to truly allow us to really keep going at this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bit. I know it's not Madden, but of one of the most famous sort of goal line plays is that sort of play action run or play action pass off that where you've got the tight ends running like that and you're creating the space because using the congestion and the crossing routes to get one open, like doing that. And then another one is I'm just looking at it now. We saw I know it was last week. I saw a lot of him there, but Varkey at fullback, where you're able to run those routes that we always seem to do with Kabinda, and it only catch one a season. And all the other times it fall off his hands like he's got pricks there. You've got him there. You've been putting him in those fullback roles. One snap there this week. One snap. Like, mix him in. It works last week. Like, I know he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he did pretty well at fullback last week. Start putting those in, especially if you got then going to use him in those split backfield looks. I know Eric Schlitt's been calling for, and I said it I think 2 weeks ago. And I know, and again, it's me memeing myself. Will routes, perfect.
Yeah, just on the offensive side, I was saying it. Ant was saying it last week. Sorry, and then I'm rehashing the argument. We went predictable. It was so that the Nelson bullying comment kind of comes into play here. It was that they're stacking the box, and this was I don't care that you've done that. We're still running over you. And frankly, we weren't good at it. Like, I think we have to realise at some point, when a team is determined to stop you running the ball, it opens up something else, and we need to stop being pig-headed about it. I think what happened was an overreaction to the Goff pick. When Ant said, I think, we were making sure we just weren't putting things at risk and, whatever, and that's understandable. And it's like, okay, but what you're doing there is you're potentially shutting down your quarterback for the rest of the game. And what happens if you actually need him to be back in rhythm because you've gone behind? What's a good way to go behind? Punting the ball 3 times in the second half and not scoring. Like, what's more risky? Not putting the ball in the hands of your quarterback every now and again and just punting the ball away. And yeah, Fox made it hard for them, so it wasn't like it was the worst of all worlds because we were giving the ball away on turnovers. But the best way of conceding points is giving the ball back to them on offense, and we did that a lot. So I get that it's a bit scary, and Goff has not responded particularly well to turning the ball over, so I get it. Sprinkle it in a little bit more than you did, because then when you actually had to do it at the end of the game, Goff was fine. So when they do stack the box, when they say, we're 2 scores down, we need to get the ball back, so no matter what, you are not running the ball, pass it. Just pass it to open up the run at that point.
To win a game of chess, you've got to play well 100% of the game. And unfortunately for Ben, he plays well for 60, 70% of it.
Maybe not even
But
that.
But there's 30% of the game where he's not on it. And the best play callers adapt on the fly as they go along. You're right, it is pig-headedness. I like Lions football. I like the brand of football we play. But every single offense, every single great offense in the NFL over all these years eventually gets figured. That's why you keep getting new ones. That's why you keep getting adaptations. And unfortunately for us, our bread and butter game, like the smash mouth power stuff we want to play all the time, gets figured. And the way we adapt to this is we evolve. we still play at the core, keep the core concept of your game exactly what we do. We never need to go away from the core of what we do. It's those little bits around it. Like Ash said, we can play split backfields. We've got so many dynamic guys that can bring fear to opposition defenses who we don't use, who we don't put in enough situations for. Like this, JMO went dead in this game. Why? He's coming off 2 really good games. Why are we not getting JMO involved? Why are we, all of a sudden a bit reticent to use him? Like, still do your power run game, but sprinkle him in, because that way no team's going to be able to defend against us. But we don't have that X factor outside of the main game so far. That this is why we only play well good in certain parts of games, because teams adapt and we don't. And that there is the core problem.
Yeah, and again, not to dig into it even more, what is the perfect run concept to run when teams figure out power? Counter. You saw our backs constantly, it would be a inside zone thing, and they'd be countering themselves. They'd do cut one way, then cut back into another hole. Start running counter naturally, have Monty lined up on the right, make it look like you're going to run to the left, like he's just going to get it, hit whatever hole opens up on the left, but then counter it because you've got Ragnar, Zeitler, Penne, and then let's say you've got Amaral lined up to start there. You could have potentially 3-4 blockers all on the right who are great, and just counter it that way. There's so many ways of doing it, but yeah, hopefully this is what the bye will be for us. We'll play next week against Mike McDonald, who plays a very similar scheme to what the Cardinals run. Then enter the bye, and hopefully can just sit down, look at the tape, and work this kind of stuff out. We've seen it before with the defense, where we've gone into a bye, come out, and suddenly we've changed a few things on defense, be it going to more zone because we didn't have the man coverage corners, or changing the front from 3-4 to 4-3 because we didn't have the people to run it, and Brockers, who we traded for, wasn't working. We now need to do the same on the offense because it's not working right now. As you're saying, 60% of the time is good, but if we want to win the Super Bowl, if we want to beat the Shanahan 49ers, we want to beat the Andy Reid-led Chiefs, if we want to beat Ravens, you need to be on 100% of the time. You can't have one play off because they can punish that.
Speaking of defensive adjustments, I don't know what concepts we used in this again. Not my forte, but it felt a lot like we told our DBs to go out and get these guys this time. I felt like I didn't see Cardinals receivers in space much at all. It felt like every time the ball was going, Terrian and Carlton were both there trying to make plays on the ball. And yeah, we gave up a couple of DPIs, rightfully or wrongfully, but I thought it worked so much better. Kyler didn't have any free plays here. He started launching it downfield a lot. He was having to run around in the pocket for a long time. Why? Because our coverage was a lot tighter. And that is what I asked for, and that is what I got. I don't know whether we changed the scheme or whatever, but whatever they did, kudos to them. They let our DBs go out and play ball and make life hell for these guys. And we just completely suffocated that passing game. 200 plus yards for them is not much what they got on that day. So kudos.
So what happened was the first drive for the Cardinals looked exactly like what we'd done in the past games. So you had Michael Wilson was completely open to convert a third down, the very first third down of the game. Further on from there, I think Harrison, on scramble drill, yes, but it was beating zone coverage, got there before Terry and Arnold when they were scrambling around. They ended up with a Murray scramble. James Conner didn't get much. And then there was the pitch and catch to Harrison, where that was also cover 2, safety trying to catch up. Man coverage didn't get there. So that was man coverage at the very end. But otherwise, we were letting them have the space and they scored a touchdown. And from then on, we tightened up, played a heck of a lot more man, didn't let have any free releases. Completely changed after that first drive for me. So, yes, but the one time they scored at the very start of the game looked very much like the previous 2 weeks to me.
Ah, well, that kind of reinforces my point even more.
This is why you can't trust PFF, because they say the opposite. They say we play less man this week, somehow. But I agree, because remember, you literally said at the end of that first drive, didn't we, Paul? Said it because I keep saying it. It was a Justin Fields game plan. 5-man fronts, a lot of zone, keep your eyes on the QB. And yeah, but then it changed to a lot of man. So the play where Arnold had the great pass break up on the one, that was a simple open close bracket coverage where Terrion used the outside, gave Harrison inside leverage, forced him inside to where then Kirby could drift across and they could double cover him, and it worked. That's what we got the corners for. No, obviously Arnold had to take a couple of plays off. We had to bring in Vildor, who might be a bit of a better zone corner, but finally Glenn is doing what he said he's going to do. He's got the guys to play press man and to go one-on-one and travel with receivers. He's finally doing it, and this week's going to be a hell of a test for that because you've got the big physical presence of Metcalf and you've got Lockett.
What's that, Pan?
What are you seeing?
No, sorry, this is Tigers. The Tigers are calling up Jackson Jobe. They are really going for the playoffs. He's like one of the best pitching prospects going.
Never mind going for the playoffs. They're 70% to get there. Unfortunately, they really need to win like the last 6 games to try and boost their seeding. Otherwise, they're going to have a horrible game in the wild card. But fingers crossed for the Tigers.
They ain't got enough starters. That's the problem. They can't play bullpen days all the time. But bringing Jackson up fills a big hole for them.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they're rushing all these. Shock horror. Like when Patricia was here, all the old fuddy-duddies who were no good, took them out the team, put the youngsters in who actually have a vested interest in your team, and suddenly you're good. Tigers have done exactly the same. They've just been calling up the young guys all year and getting rid of the crap old guys. And, look, they're winning. Who'd have thought it? Young guys invested in your franchise, developed by you, not journeymen looking for a big payday because you've got an incompetent owner who just keeps paying these guys shit money. So... shock.
Not that I know a lot about baseball, but I do know that they made the right decision on Torque as well. They put him back down to Toledo, played himself back into form, brought him back up, and he's been great since he came back.
Yeah.
So.
They both caught Keith up, Malloy up, Carpenter's healthy again. These guys, a lot of them they bought up this year, and shock horror, they're good.
Well, proof of how bigger than all of those, and for once... because I watched the BBC coverage of it yesterday. For once, they actually did an actual good job of covering the sport and explaining it. But one of the things they mentioned during one of the breaks was how much better the teams looked with Baez getting put on the injured list and then bringing up Trey Sweeney at shortstop.
Yeah.
Like Baez, good player. Don't get me wrong, can hit it for power, but Sweeney's been a lot more consistent for them. Ibanez has been a lot more consistent for them. It's been great.
Moving it on from the Roar of the Tigers UK podcast, moving it back to this game. Just a short and sweet one. Is this the best defensive performance we've had under Aaron Glenn?
Yes. I'm struggling to remember a better one, but that's so.
Nah, when we went to Lambeau, was it last year? One of the last 2 where they took us to Lambeau. Like we were damn good. Is it the night one where you've got the Goff gif where he's stood in front of the firework? The one
was this week 4 last year where we won 34-20?
Was it that one?
Was it? No, that was last week or last year.
One of the Lambeau performances was damn good. I remember us going up there and being uber aggressive. And
I know that would. It'll be week 18, 2020, 2022.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where we watched it all together because it was Seattle.
Kirby picked Aaron Rodgers twice.
And it was where we couldn't get into the playoffs because Seattle obviously beat the Rams, and then we had a bit to play for. And it was like, but if Green Bay win, they could get to the playoffs. And we played them. We played them off the pitch.
Because when you consider location, stakes, etc., like that was one of the hardest locations to go against a team that technically at that time was better than us, and they had something to play for and we didn't. But it's certainly up there. It's in the top 3. I would have to think offhand, but that one immediately came to mind.
It came to my mind too, but my thinking in this game is Kyler Murray was the best quarterback in football through 2 weeks. I know it's only a 2-week sample size, but he was playing no mugs when he was coming up against the Buffalo Bills, and despite all of their injuries, they still had some ball players on defense, the LA Rams. So Murray's hot. You're going up against a team that, generally speaking, is criminally underrated for me on the offensive side of the ball. And I think you said it on Twitter, Rant, like, the wide receiver core is terrifically underrated for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, Wilson is awesome
Really good.
as the number 2, especially since he's a prototypical X. Like, I love his game, and he was super reliable yesterday. But then Connor and that offensive line, they've got loads of yards. They've been beating up on teams in the run game. Like, I came into this game fearful of what was happening. I said to Ash at the top of the show yesterday, if Kyler Murray decides he's going to be a freak today, we've got very little shot in this game. Despite how good we are as a team, if Murray decides he's going to be Freakazoid Murray, we're fucked. And we never let that be a factor. The fact that we even are talking about ourselves being bullies in this game, in the Nelson way, is just so impressive for a team that was bottom 10 on defense last year, maybe.
If we're going to do a theoretical argument to this, all I would say is Jack Fox gave them hella good field position in this.
Yes.
That team that played up at the Packers got 2 red zone interceptions. Like, they were defending the more critical part of the field. And again, probably much less talent on that defense as well than we have now. You've got year 1 Hutch, year 1 Curb. Like, you know, like a lot of these guys are young, like incredibly young. So, not year 1 Curb. No, yes. Anywho.
Yeah, you have 1 Curb, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're up there with 2 of the premier defensive performances we've had under Aaron Glenn, for sure.
All right, let's turn our attention to stock up, stock down before talking about the rest of the weekend's games. So, guys, you've got to find some people to shout out. I will come, Ash, to you first. Give you a layup. Who's the guy you want to shout out this week?
Well, it's the guy who gave the pod its title. My absolute G, Kirby Joseph. Like, we all know he can do the cover stuff. Case in point, that game in Lambeau where he picks off Aaron Rodgers, and for nearly 600 days he was the last person to catch a pass from Aaron Rodgers, which was a fun time. Did it again this week without the benefits of wearing uniforms that made him blend into the end zone wall. And I know he's posted it on his Twitter and Instagram about 2 hours ago. His sort of post for it. It's good. But it's his work in man coverage. So he had a pass breakup on McBride where he was playing man on him and he broke it up. Great improvement there. But it's his triggering in the run game. So before, and it was his big thing, and you can go back to my prospect profile on him ages ago. It was his reading the run and reacting to it. This week, he would see a run and he would just get downhill and go for it. Sometimes, yeah, he would not get there in time, but he got quite a few tackles, and PFF didn't exactly give him the best grades this week for it. But I'm pretty happy with where he's going, and with him and with Branch seemingly sliding into that safety role perfectly. And I know they're stealing someone's thunder in a minute, probably, but we've got a damn good case for having one of the best safety duos in the league this year, based off like performance so far. Like him and Branch and Kirby have just been immense.
Not to try and lose all of our live audience at once, but Dan Campbell, I presume, is at the podium right now.
Oh,
he has confirmed that Marcus Davenport has a season-ending injury, and Derek Barnes is out for a, quote, significant amount of time, end quote. That is a sucky way to start your press conference, Dan. And up to you now. Who's the guy you want to shout out?
I'm going to shout out Terry and Arnold here, and I'm going to do it because I despise the amount of hate he's getting. I'm going to push, but I've been forced into this position because everyone, and again, a certain person today has been posting very not nice things about him. He is performing really well. Like, given that he's in week 3 of his NFL career, he's already had to face off against Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike Evans, who's going to the Hall of Fame, Chris Godwin. And yes, has he had a little bit of a rough time of it? Yes, he has. Has he given up a few touchdowns as a result of some of these plays? Yes, he has. What is he? He's a rookie corner. What do rookie corners do? They have one of the biggest learning curves out of everybody in the NFL, and it takes time, and people have forgotten this because Pat Surtain exists and they've forgotten how to evaluate cornerback progression properly. But you get to that second half against the Cardinals and our offense goes quiet, which given Murray's throwing more to his top target. And I've seen lots of examples of his play today. His hand fighting with Marvin. He is physical. He's aggressive. He's a blanket. He's a tight turtleneck that you can't get off. And he is performing so well in his role. And that was in the second half of his third game. And he had a near flawless half. In fact, I don't think he really did anything wrong in that second half. Was the DPI first half?
Yes.
Or was it second?
First half.
Yeah. So I think that second, he had a nigh on flawless game. And what was it? 2 receptions given up on 6 targets for the day against him. And we've got no one else. We've got Carlton with him. That's it. He has been thrust into a starting position and he has been thrown right into the fire. And you are starting to see the mold of a great corner come out of that. And I love what he's done. And people going at him, Carlton Davis is getting ignored. He's had his struggles as well. But for what he's done, Terrion Arnold looks terrific. And he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And don't you dare drag him out of that starting spot. Because even if you're sending him to the bench and he's having a few less reps, what that says to him is we don't trust you. And that's the problem we've made with a lot of other guys in the past. You've got to keep throwing him in there. He's going to come up against DK Metcalf next week. He's going to come up against a good wide receiver core in Seattle. You keep throwing him out there. Keep letting him make plays because that is what's going to make him better, quicker. Trial by fire. That is how Terrion Arnold operates. Everyone goes, well, we did it wrong with Okudah. We just sent him out there and, he suffered for it because, many different things here. He's on a better team. He's got a better secondary to work with, and he's a better player. Okudah never had a half that good in his life, ever, against such opposition. He is so much different to him. So I'm giving Terrion a lot of credit here. He is going through trial by fire, but we're seeing a lot of good so early for that.
You nicked my guy. Terrion was going to be my guy as well. I absolutely, and I cannot understate this enough, I absolutely love what he's been... overstate this now. Sorry. I absolutely love what he's done. He's getting himself in the right positions. He's learning from his mistakes. Despite the DPIs being called, the technique is getting better week to week. He's in the position to make his plays. And you know what? He's at the point where we're now calling out the referees for making mistakes when he's in coverage rather than it being a kind of, well, it's unfortunate that's been called on another day that wouldn't be called, thinking about when he got inside the face mask of the DPI last week where otherwise he was fine. His coverage is great. So keep doing what you're doing. At the end of the day, DPI happens to most cornerbacks. And actually, if they keep firing it at him as he continues to improve, his ball production is going to be pretty good this year. So just wait until he turns into, who's the useless corner in Dallas who everyone loves?
Trayvon Diggs.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the one. He's going to be... In terms of what's happened in his first year, in terms of being a penalty machine and giving up a few yards, but actually having interceptions, I think he's going to have a season like he had in the end. We'll see. But it feels like it's going in the right direction for him. With him off the table, I'm going to have to pick someone else. I will go for the really low-hanging fruit. I'll go for Aiden Hutchinson. We've really kind of avoided shouting him out in the first 2 weeks, despite the fact he's been best player on the field both games. In this game, he only got 1 sack, and he got it late on in the game. But he affected the game in so many ways, and in such a much bigger way than he did in terms of sacks. Continued to get those pressures with 8 on the day. That was half the team's pressures. But what he really did is he won the bloody game for the team, because when you actually have a look with the game on the line, 10 points ahead with about 15 minutes to go, there were like 2 or 3 drives which were ended because he's getting to Murray with hands up so that Murray has to throw the ball off the back foot, which affects his accuracy. He didn't get home, but he did force the incompletions. And that, when you talk about complementary football, you often mean defense backing up the offense and offense backing up the defense. But in terms of complementary football, it was also wrapped up pass rush helping coverage and coverage helping pass rush. And he was doing his bit for complementary defense. He was unplayable. And I know he was up against backup players, but they had a game plan for him. They were running away from him in rushes, and they were trying to get the ball out quickly in throws. Obviously, had the zone read in there that Murray threw in once and then decided not to do that again. I thought he was completely unplayable and very much still on his way to Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's been terrific. His season grade at the moment is 93.4 per PFF. Yes, that's not the be-all and end-all. He already almost has half the number of pressures he had in his rookie season.
Even I can agree with that PFF grade. So
there we go. Anyone else got one they want to shout out?
Did any of you guys know that Alex Anzalone was missing in this game? Because I'm going to shout out the guy who does his job as playing
Malcolm.
very well. Well, Malcolm, yes, but Jack took 60 snaps in this game. And, we know Alex is on the field, because the run stop, but generally just because of how tough that linebacker unit is, you can't run through them. It's hard to pass on them. The thing we were worried about in this game with them running a lot of 3 tight end sets, etc., is that they're going to start trying to target some of these guys, get some easy outs for Kyler, etc. And maybe this is a plus for the entire linebacking unit. Maybe we'll get them all in there. But Jack certainly, for me, took on the mantle in this one. And his confidence is just going up week by week right now. And obviously he's going to be Alex for the next 10 years for us, hopefully even better than what Alex has been for us. But again, we talk about a domineering defensive performance, but at the heart of every good defense, there's a motor in that linebacker room, and he was that. And Malcolm was as well. I thought Malcolm was terrific, considering they call on him sporadically and not all the time. It could be difficult for him to get in and out of rhythm, but the fact that he's there when the call is made and just throws himself right in there and acts like he's been on that field every snap of this season is a testament to him as well. This is the young linebacker core we've built and invested time in. Malk's in year 3, Jack's in year 2, Barnes is in year 4. These guys are finally starting to reach the pinnacle of where they're going to be. It takes a long time for linebackers to develop, and we're seeing it bear fruit. But, I thought those guys did tremendous and need shouting out.
One more for you, Ash.
I mentioned him earlier, and it's a low-hanging fruit, but branch. Like, I mentioned it to you specifically on the coverage, but I know there was some disconsternation about his move from slot corner to safety. Why would you move him away from the line of scrimmage in a box where he's best? And he hasn't come down with an interception yet, but the fact he's still leading the league in pass breakups the last time I looked, and he's still making the plays in the run game and in coverage that he was doing as a slot corner. It can only go up for me. I know he had a kind of a down game this week, but because obviously the concussion, but also just in general PFF wise. But he could seriously be on for or if he comes back from the concussion soon enough, all-pro season. Potentially from him. All he has to do is just come down with one of those balls. Instead of it being a PBU, could be an interception, and it'll just start going from there. It's great.
Yeah.
And then there's one last one very quickly.
Let me have my second one, then you can have a last one.
Oh, go on. Oh, yeah. Your second might be my third, so...
Okay. Again, maybe lower-hanging fruit, but if he gets overlooked this often, it feels unfair. David Montgomery, just... super. You're going to choose Hogan Hatton, aren't you? You can see the smirk on your face.
Do it.
David Montgomery is quietly having the best start to a season in his career. I don't think it's hyperbole to say it. When the ball gets in his hands, he's making 1-yard gains, 4-yard gains. He's making tackles for loss, getting back to the line of scrimmage, and sometimes he's really good at surfing as well. It feels like when he's on the ball that we can't lose. And I only bemoan the fact that he's only playing 30 to 35 snaps a game. It just feels like we are leaving something on the table with him at the moment. And maybe that's in view of making sure that the tread is left on the tyres for later on in the season or later on in the game to try and close things out. But we have the best 1-2 punch in football, and it's a joy to watch every time. Right, Ant, get it over with. Is it Trey Flowers?
No, because he's not on the team. That'd be stupid.
Yeah, so's this. Go on.
No, your own words. Because the first thing when Bates shanked his kick, I first came on Discord and said, Matt, I need a long snapper report. And you said, in your words, perfect. So Hogan Hatton, perfect, great long snapping performance. Got to be put out there. We are LSU. We have to rep the long snappers if we're going to be LSU. So
fair. Also, just to say, Jack Fox can't be a great punter without some good snapping in there.
Exactly. I mean, he tied his season.
Sorry, go on, Ash.
He's tied his season high for special teams grade after a bit of a dip last week.
I mean, Jack should be in this conversation. Given someone put the tweet up about where he managed to hit them, but his punts were just consistently epic.
Oh God, how many? I can't remember how many punts he did.
Like three of them landed in the 15, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one that didn't was a touchback, and then because of the penalty they got, it was in the 10 anyway.
Yeah.
The average starting position after a punt, I think, was the 8-yard line or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Fucking immense.
That's really funny. Like, good luck, guys. The average time we punt, you're going to have to go 92 yards. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's it just puts pressure on a team.
It really does. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the weekend's games and have a look at our pick watches, shall we? Do we have to?
I forgot to do it until the Lions game this week, so mine's going to look a bit weird.
Yeah. I'm sure you want to shout out how well you've done this week.
No, I just want to shout out that last week when Matt goes, Bears and Giants, and I went Giants, and he went, what? What? Oh yeah, what?
I was actually going to start with Giants Browns. This wasn't a contest. Like, the Giants blew the Browns away.
Yeah, I told you. Like, Daniel Jones, for all the stuff, he looks like he's found it a little bit in recent weeks. He looks a little more confident now. The run game's given him enough to work with, and they're a competent offense. And you forgot the ginormous fact that the Browns are an absolute dumpster fire with a quarterback who, what is it, his QBR is the worst of any Browns quarterback through 3 games in this millennium. And he owns the 3rd worst one as well. It's so bad. Like, I can't believe you picked the Browns. I felt so justified when that happened and that came in. I don't really care about the Giants, but that's just my...
His QBR is 23.3.
Wow. I mean, the crazy thing is that's still higher than the average age of one of Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriends, but still.
God damn it.
That's a funny joke. That's a funny joke.
That was good. It was funny, yeah. But like you're just saying that, and you're not going to mention the fact that Malik Neighbours, while also catching touchdowns, can also score 10.0s and Olympic diving with the way he was pirouetting through the air.
And this is coming from someone who's watched Ashley Young for years, so he knows what Olympics are.
Why did you go for Ashley Young and not Jack? Why? You.
Oh, that is good crack, you guys. Oh, man. Right. There was a big upset in Tennessee as the favored Titans fell 30-14 to the Green Bay Packers in the stupidest betting line of the weekend. And
we both picked it.
We did both pick it.
Why were the Titans favored in anything?
I don't understand it at all. They were 8-5 on, which is like minus 175-ish. Like, how on earth were the Titans favored in this game? I get it's Malik Willis, but you're coming up against a competent organization, as much as I hate to say it, but Green Bay are good. Not only do they have good personnel, but they run well.
What's our concern rating for Green Bay on a scale of 1 to 10 right now? Like, how badly do you think they are a concern to us?
8? I'm pretty up there. Like, I think with them and with Minnesota, Is the question like, are they good enough that the games we play against them are going to mean the difference in the division? I think the answer is probably yes. And then the question is, do I think there's a possibility that we don't sweep both of them? Absolutely yes. Is there a possibility we get swept by one or both of them? I don't think the answer is definitively no. So now we're in the fun zone of it's very much up in the air with both Green Bay and the Vikings. So yeah, worried, but not like in a way that I'm like, we're not favourites. I think we're still the favourites for the division. But,
Higher than it was after Love got injured, I think is.
oh, after Love got injured,
Yeah.
I was laughing. I thought they were dead.
Yeah, I'm just interested why you picked this as the upset of the week and not the other AFC South versus NFC North game.
Well,
I'm
going in order.
We both had the winner winning.
Did I?
Yes, you did. I'm sure you did.
I don't remember.
You're the biggest AR stan on here.
I am the
And you're
biggest
betting
AR
against-
stan. Yeah.
No, I was talking Vikings Texans, where the Texans get absolutely blown away.
Oh.
I'm not. Of course, the Bears are shit. Of course, they're going to fucking lose to the Colts.
Yeah, but they weren't the
Even though
favourites.
that's like the
I
two.
didn't realise there was so much NFC North against AFC South this week.
That was the one. Like, how? Like, could JJ McCarthy get Trey Lanced by Sam Darnold?
No. Absolutely not.
And see, Matt's saying that because he's wrote some pretty big checks on this subject.
No. This is also coming from the guy when the Vikings signed Darnold that I said, I think there's an NFL quarterback in there and I can think of no one better to mentor JJ McCarthy. I would sit McCarthy for the season and just play Darnold because I think that's a really good fit. Those words also left my mouth, so I can't say I didn't see this coming for Darnold, but I do not think he's going to be the long-term guy there. In fact, I wonder whether this could be a situation where you see them tag and trade Darnold this offseason.
Or like he ends up somewhere like the Raiders if they don't want to be so bad they can't get a quarterback in the draft.
Maybe.
I mean, they're going to start AOC again this weekend.
He's fighting his way into finding a starting job next year.
Sam Darnold is the next Geno Smith, confirmed.
He's got about another 3 years to go then, hasn't he, before he's allowed to be good? How old is Sam Darnold now?
Sam Darnold's 25?
Oh, God, he's got a long time to go then. What was Geno? About 32?
Geno was 31, 32 when he got good. So Darnold is 26. Okay. Darnold is younger.
27.
27? Darnold's younger than Joe Burrow. That's the only thing I saw, and I assumed that Joe Burrow was a bit younger than that. So
he's got 5 years to go before he's allowed to be good, yeah.
Odd he is.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's older than Darnold. It's nuts. It's so crazy.
By a month.
Yeah, but...
Is it? Oh God, what was it? That's what it was. Cam Rising, wasn't it? Cam Rising was in the same recruiting class as AR, and AR's in his second season in the NFL, and Cam Rising's still playing in college.
Yeah, he's 27, so he's
nuts.
Crazy old.
Ridiculous. Right, next game is Bears-Colts. Colts win a close one, 21-16. I say a close one, but I mean, the game was absolutely dire.
Yeah, this is not a good win for the Colts. This is not an endorsement of their team. They look absolutely awful. And Richardson looks terrible.
He does. The pick in the end zone was all manners of like, what are you doing?
I must say, it takes a special kind of, skill for the Bears to keep landing on progressively worse offensive coordinators. It's just hilarious. Have you seen that fun? I thought it was an edit at first. You know, the fourth down on like the 1 yard line which gets blown up. And this 4 offensive linemen on the ground. One of them's just like this on his side. And I'm like, that's edited. And when I watch the game, I'm like, oh my God, it's not edited.
Yeah.
Just absolutely someone needs to do a GIF of David Montgomery getting carried through the air going forwards by opposition players, and next to it have DeAndre Swift getting chased backwards by about 30 opposition players, and just be like, Chicago decided this one was better than that one. Go figure.
It is weird that the Bears decided on the snap to play a game of Ring a Ring a Roses.
It's just everyone's like, oh yeah, they're going to be a great team. They've invested all the money in their defense and their skill players, but you need an O-line. It's literally ruining everything they're trying to do. That defense is so good, but it's out there forever. And you just see eventually teams will eventually get on top of them or make a big play or two, despite the Bears defense doing everything in its power to stop it happening. And they've just got nothing. Caleb's been sacked so many times already. Like it's just they're wasting this team and they're not going to be able to afford it forever. So it's crazy, but they are awful and they're going to be fourth in the division again by a long way this year. Like Eberflus has got to be close to being fired.
Yeah,
I can't be. They play the Panthers in 2 weeks. If they lose to the Panthers, he's got to be done. I know the Panthers look better, but he's got to be done if they lose to the Panthers at Soldier Field.
The Bears famously don't fire mid-season, don't they, though?
Yeah.
No. And it will be funny to watch their fans have to suffer this for the rest of the year because they're just obnoxious little so-and-sos, and it's funny.
Well, they're getting humbled again and again. One day, they'll be crushed enough over a 30 to 40 year stretch to finally resonate with how we felt over the years. Texans Vikings, as alluded to by Ash earlier, Vikings 34-7 winners in a battle of unbeaten teams. Ash, the fuck?
Exactly. Like, guess this is what happens when you're having to start Cam Akers as a running back. You have no running game to work for Stroud to work off of. The opposite team can just focus on defending the pass. And this happens. And yeah, Sam Darnold played well enough until obviously went off. Luckily, but also unluckily for us, he's only got a bone bruise. He had the MRI down his knee. He's going to be fine. Just shows even the high-powered offenses like the Texans can have a bad day. Though I'm just sad that Nico Collins didn't get more targets. Maybe that's also it because Dave Perkins focused on him, and so he had to go to Stephon Diggs.
Well, Stephon Diggs is demanding targets in the locker room, or he'll threaten to quit. People forget the Texans are like a sophomore team this year. They're going to go through the sophomore slump. Nothing was expected. They're us last year. Like, nothing was expected of them last year, and now they're having to deal with the realization that people know they're good now, and they will be treated as such. So they're always going to lose one, but I just didn't see it in this. But and I've got to go, what Kevin O'Connell's doing a pretty good job there, considering his GM's rubbish. And I will always maintain that Kwesi's a useless GM. Their head coach is doing some sterling work.
Next one up, such a frustrating game. Two high-powered offenses combined to score 3 points in 3.5 quarters of play before the Eagles run out 15-12 winners in the Superdome against the Saints. And again, I just want to say the fuck, because such an awful game. And I made a joke about Derek Carr and the Saints scoring on every possession, and man, they made me look like a fool.
See, I very clearly remember saying, is there a way both teams can lose? Because I hate the Saints and I hate the Eagles. And this was probably about as close to a good resolution as I could get. The Saints lose, but the Eagles looked atrocious. Like, they just do not look a good football team this year. So I think I got what I asked for with this. The Saints are just, like you say, it's level of opposition is tougher. And they've finally, I don't know if they've been figured out a little bit, I don't know, but this was just an ugly, ugly, ugly game, and neither of them came out smelling of roses. The Eagles are going to struggle. I don't know with the NFC East this year. Like, it's bad. Like, the Commanders feel like they could win it if they go on a bit of a run. It's that bad. So, it was just I watched some of it. It was ugly. And Hurts looks bad. Really bad. I don't know what's going on with him. They're missing. I think it's the offensive line. And isn't Lane Johnson now in concussion protocol? He got taken out.
Yep.
He's in concussion
Yeah.
protocol. So that's huge. If they're missing him, then they're going to have a lot of issues. But, and I'm going to leave this for the end. How did the game end? Who got that little game-winning pick there for the Eagles?
Reed
Little safety from Middle Tennessee. Oh, I love him. I love it so much. He's really outdone my expectations, but he is a terrific player. And for him to have established himself there, that's absolutely wonderful. So Reed Blankenship stan for life. Also, CJ, stop talking shit after games like this because you've not proven anything to anybody, man. You looked awful and you're just setting yourself up for future failure. I'm so glad he's not here anymore. Just has a mouth that runs constantly.
Moving on to the next one, Chargers end up dropping to the Steelers after going out to a lead early in possibly Justin Fields' best passing performance of his career. Went 25 of 32 for 245, a touchdown and a pick. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him have more than 80% completion. That's going some. And he had 6 yards on the ground. I mean, totally different style of performance for Justin, but he got it done against a gritty Chargers team that it was another battle of unbeaten teams.
Just riding the Steelers train, man. It's awesome.
Calvin Austin's touchdown was really impressive as well, the 55-yarder.
Yeah.
Do you know what the scary thing is? Like, they found that Nick Herbig's a good football player. They're like, oh shit, they've got a second bona fide high level. Well, that's a third after Alex Highsmith. Like, they just keep finding guys on that D line, man. You know, Keanu Benton looks a menace. He's getting into that team more. Herbig's playing well. Like, oh my God, they're amazing. Defensively, anyhow, it's the type of football I like. So, but gotta keep betting on it. Like AFC North, man, they could win the AFC North this year. Who'd have been saying that? The Bengals don't look good. The Ravens, sure as hell, don't look good. The Browns, #1 pick territory for them. Go Steelers.
Ash, a match next up that left Lions fans wondering, oh, fuck, what happened last week as the Broncos go into Tampa and ruin the Bucks UK's 40th anniversary celebrations with a 26-7 win on the road.
Yeah. I think it's just as I think it was Jeremy on the Pride Truck recap show for our game. Obviously, it was just a stylistic thing where the Broncos played perfectly against them. And it's not to say like the Bucks weren't even too bad. Like Baker had about 70% completion rate, 25 and 30. It's just he was throwing it short all the time because they just kept reducing the deep stuff. So Mike Evans, who was obviously the deep threat there, 2 catches for 17 yards. It was all the short. It's all Chris Godwin, Cade Otton, Rashad White just kept short. They kept hitting through to them, and it worked for them. And then when they're on offense, then they found something like Javonte has seemingly fallen off to the point where, spoiler alert, I'm going to drop him in fantasy this week. And they found something Tyler Badie, 9 carries for 70 yards. Like, admittedly, played the Jeremy Rising game, you take away the 43-yard run. It doesn't look as good, but they found something there with him. They made it easy for Knicks, gave him the easy completions. Like Sutton had a decent day. Former line Josh Reynolds, 2 catches for 6 yards, doing his thing there. Like, they just had the perfect game plan for them. I won't be surprised if next week, whoever the Broncos have got, they lose again. But it just shows perhaps like where we had that year with Patricia, where we had the perfect game plan for the Rams and nearly beat them. Sometimes even bad coaches can have good game plans.
All right, next up is one that I want to say I called, but I didn't quite go that far. But I was saying that Dalton would provide something a bit extra for the Panthers as they beat the Raiders 36-22 in a game which I know must have hurt you in your heart a little bit.
Yeah, I want the Raiders to do well, but I think the Raiders are a bit of a I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? They beat Baltimore and they lose to Carolina. Like, how do you? That's just kind of the topsy-turvy nature. Bad teams can pull off shock results, but then they can pull off absolute howlers. I don't get where you go from here. But no, shock veteran quarterback looks better than rookie who's been kind of subject to the worst team in the NFL for 15 months. It's kind of not much of a headline. Um, but well done. Good play, fair play to them. The Panthers fans have been through a lot, so that'll be a big win for them. See if they can carry on doing it. If they can get another one against the Bears, fine. But Raiders, interesting what he said afterwards. He called his own players out, which doesn't seem like a him thing to do, but at the same time, I guess it does. I guess he's calling because it's a bad team which is rebuilding. I guess you've got to get rid of undesirable elements, and he will have been taking shot at them. So yeah, it's just going to be an up down one for them, and you're going to get these results all the time. But maybe a few more losses in there. I'm just going to wind Matt up now and say a few more losses, and then Max Crosby starts to become a name for.
He's
It,
got a high ankle sprain. Stop it.
I know it's Trey Hendrick. I'm about Trey Hendrickson trained. I want the Bengals to win, so Bengals to lose. Sorry. So all about Trey.
Ash, moving on to Dolphins Seahawks, as the Dolphins fall flat with a backup quarterback. Seahawks run out 24-3 winners, scoring 3/4 of their points in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's what happens when you somehow can get a 71-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf. Seahawks took the bull by the horns. Obviously, everywhere helps by the fact that we're already starting a backup quarterback in Skylar Thompson, and then he gets a chest injury, so then they're facing the laser show. Fun. But yeah, they looked good even without Kenneth Walker, and touch wood. Well, obviously not touch wood. I hope Kenneth Walker in the long run is healthy and has a good career. Still be injured next week because Charbonnet's a bit easier to deal with than him. But yeah, they just had a really good day. Even with Metcalf had the big touchdown. Lockett did his thing. JSN was good in the slot, and then the defense looks really damn good. Mike McDonald really is having a really good impact there.
All right, next up, and is it almost was a comeback for the Cowboys, but the Ravens did hang on for a 28-25 victory in AT&T.
It was almost funnier that they did it the way that they did. A simple blowout would have been too easy for them. It wasn't painful enough for them to drive all the way into the back, all the way back into that, and then to lose it right at the end is even sweeter because you just know this is really hurting the Cowboys right now. They are again a team who just doesn't look very good, and you're like, they didn't invest in this team. They didn't invest in the running back position. That looks horrible. It's putting behind in games. Dak's having to do way too much. He certainly did against the good teams. In others, they've just not looked sharp at all, really. The Ravens finally found a spine, but at the same point, like, people are criticizing our offense going to sleep. The Ravens' offense went completely to sleep. Like, they didn't do anything either. It's not just an us problem here. That other teams have problems like this as well, but. Again, that's a kind of a great result because the Cowboys lose, but the Ravens don't look great. You kind of get the best of both worlds of everything. But this kind of feels like the year where the Cowboys may really bottom out and go for something, draft wise, not be a quarterback, but maybe they try and retool in the draft rather than try and be a mediocre team that kind of just exists. But they don't look good, even in a piss poor NFC East. They do not look good.
I mean, I can see their game plan already. Everyone's calling out on Twitter last night. Austin Gianti, you are a Dallas Cowboy.
Oh, don't, man. I love Ashton. I love him.
Ash, next game up. And maybe, one of the funnier results of the weekend, the 49ers, after going out to a 2-score lead, fall to a Rams team destroyed by over 30 points the week before by the Cardinals, 27-24.
Yeah, it was great. Well, obviously, as you know, I was watching the end of it when our game finished. Just God knows what happened in that last quarter for the 49ers. Like, I know they had all the injuries, McCaffrey out, Debo out, all this. You had Juwan Jennings go for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you still can't win. By the way, if anyone, my flag football people listening, can actually listen to me and picks him up, you're welcome. I told you so. Like, when you had him go off, when you had Jordan Mason showing why just because he had Jahmyr Gibbs in front of him at Georgia Tech does not mean he was a bad running back. 19 carries for 77 yards, still pretty damn good. Even Garendo, who I know hasn't had the best start to his career as a 49er, 5 carries for 19 yards, looked decent. Yet they couldn't pull it off. I know the Rams were kind of helped by a Devontae Campbell DPI penalty, but they have no offensive line. They had to go to Tutu Atwell trying to throw trick plays to make some offense. And yet they still were able to do it. They got down there the fourth quarter, kicked the 37-yard field goal to win it. And then obviously the 49ers tried to do their best impression of the England rugby team and then fumbled it and cost me 3 points in fantasy. So if that cost me the matchup, I'm going to kill you, Kyle Shanahan. Just well done to the Rams, gritting it out. And 49ers, you look weak, and hopefully by the time we get to Monday Night Football against you, you'll have all these players back and you'll still be weak and we'll be able to beat you and avenge last year.
And then finally, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs beat the Falcons 22-17 in yet another game where the Chiefs have gone away with one.
Yeah, you know what? Give Kirko Chains his due. He looked all right in this. Falcons looked all right in this. They were very good early on. But yeah, it's tough when you're playing against the refs. I mean, how is that not DPI? I mean, it's so funny. It happens, and straight away Collinsworth's going, "Oh, he can't make a play on the ball. His arms aren't round him." It's like, he could make a play on the ball if he's not got a grown man hugging him. Like, it's very hard to catch an American football with a grown man hugging you. He drags him on the way past, which is pass interference, especially in the end zone there, and it's just like, it's a joke. Every single time there seems to be a big call, it goes their way, and it's always in the fourth quarter as well, where it seems to be, because everyone goes, oh, they have calls against them, but all the very big calls, the game-changing calls, seem to go their way, and it was sad because it ruined what would have been a really good game. That goes in, they take the lead. Chiefs have to start chasing the game. You've got a thrilling end to the game. Instead, you've got the Chiefs able to get away with it, and it's just, I just do not really care for them. And the Falcons are still going to be pretty decent, but yeah, something needs to change with EPR. It's just way too inconsistently policed throughout the league. There needs to be a lot stricter classification of what it is and what becomes of it, and refs need to start getting picked up on it, because it's just not fair. It's not fair on the fans. I saw Big Low doing a live from the stadium, and they're just all like, it wasn't even that. He was just pointing out time after time after time where there were shitty calls made against them, and he was right. So yeah, hate it. Chiefs bias. And also, Rashee Rice should be in jail and not taking away targets from Xavier Worthy, because I've lost my fantasy matchup as a result of that. How he's playing is he shouldn't be playing. Pure and simple.
Yeah, agree. Anything else you guys want to talk about from this weekend's games before we get out of here?
I mean, how Monday Night Football having 2 matchups just feels weird to me.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it. Why don't you have one earlier why can't we have like a double bill back to back instead of having to decide what we're going to watch? I mean, just do it as like a double header, and then everyone can watch everything. Otherwise, what's the point? It's stupid. Like, actually, both games could low-key be quite decent. I don't really want to have to switch between them.
Yeah, completely agree. Stupid decision, but never mind. It is what it is. Right, time to get out of here. Our next episode is going to be the College Football Podcast Week 4 in review and look ahead to Week 5. Lots of really good stuff to have a look at, including Michigan's win over USC. Next show on the main podcast is going to be the Monday Night Football preview against Seattle Seahawks. Because it's Monday Night Football, the preview is going to be a little bit later this week. We have penciled in Saturday night UK time, which is Saturday afternoon Eastern time, but that's fungible. We'll make something happen one way or the other, but we've got to discuss it between ourselves. If you want to see when it is live, check out when it gets scheduled on our YouTube channel, because that's almost always written in pen once we've done that. Anyway, you can find us on our socials on Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. The website, rotluk.com. You can see Ash's preview articles there. Please don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Just remains for me to thank my co-hosts, Anthony Fitzpatrick, Ashley Soden. I'm Matthew Turner, and we'll see you next time on the show. But for now, 2-1, baby. Let's go, Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
I don't think I'm wet anymore.